last left you, the world was a different place. I mean, what a difference a week makes in Ukraine and Oklahoma. We'll get to that in just a moment. But we know what's happened in Ukraine. We always talk mostly about local things, statewide things here, but this is going to impact Oklahoma.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our thoughts and prayers this morning are with the people of Ukraine. I can't even imagine, watching the images on TV with my children, remembering growing up in the 80s and thinking about the USSR and the Cold War and everything that took place, not to mention living over in Romania, an Eastern Bloc country. The stories that are coming out of there, especially when I lived in Romania after the revolution, people that are standing up to fight for democracy, it makes your heart warm, but it also breaks it at the same time, seeing the violence that's taking place, knowing the impact that's happening in that country. I just hope that, as we continue to see this play out, that we stand up with the people of Ukraine.
We're standing with the people of Ukraine.
My heart goes out to the people of Ukraine. And, while we say we stand with the people of Ukraine, I will say I'm very disappointed we didn't issue more sanctions prior to this invasion that happened. Vladimir Putin is absolutely a war criminal. This is a European city under fire in the year 2022. The idea that we have not done more, I think every option short of an armed invasion by the United States needs to be on the table. I think we need to increase economic sanctions. This has the possibility of escalating, and we do not want this to escalate into another war. We have not been strong enough in the sanctions, and we need to go further.
Yeah, and some of these criminals are living in London and other places. They're Ukrainian, Russian. We got to do something about that. Okay, now let's get specifically to what this might happen to Oklahoma and in this legislative session.
So here's why it matters to you watching at home. What happens on the national stage, if we can avoid a World War III, which we are not going to avoid boots on the ground if we don't get tougher on our economic sanctions, what we're doing, you're going to see supply chain problems that are going to affect us greatly. You're also going to see European supply chain problems that will happen because when Russia continues to take over all of Ukraine. What I think on your day-to-day life in session, there's not a lot the Oklahoma legislature is going to do that's going to change what's going on here. I just think we definitely need to be calling your congressperson, calling your senator, telling them we want permanent and more substantial sanctions against Russia and against Vladimir Putin specifically. We have to stand with the people in a real way, and we have to stop this.
A couple could impact Oklahoma. Number one, the price of oil and natural gas. Number two, we have a burgeoning defense industry association, a new association in Oklahoma. A lot of the big companies are here in Oklahoma. It could impact us that way. Your other thoughts?
Yeah, definitely have an impact on the state of Oklahoma. As you may have seen already, by the end of this week, oil had already risen up to over $100 a barrel. This will obviously have impact, and it'll have impact on you when you go to the gas pump, and gas costs more. And the fact is that impact will then have an impact on supply chain. It'll get more expensive to transport things around the country, which means goods will be more expensive. We already know that inflation has caused prices to continue to rise. This is only going to make that worse. And it's going to make it difficult for us in the United States to think about how do we help other countries when it's impacting prices for us every day.
When we come back, there was an earthquake on the mountain. We'll tell you what that means when we get back. Welcome back. That earthquake you heard this week was the announcement that Senator Inhofe is not going to seek re-election, which starts all these dominoes falling. We'll get to that in just a moment. But people keep asking, what does this mean? Are we going to have an election? Can the governor appoint someone? Lots of confusion.
Yeah, there's lots of confusion out there, so let's make sure viewers at home can understand what's going to happen. He is given an irrevocable letter of resignation that won't be until January. What that allows us to do is have an election, so there will be no appointment. Now, when you look at that election, though, there's some heavy hitters in there. I mean, I think you got to consider T.W. Shannon, former Speaker of the House, one of the front runners, Mark Wayne Mullen, Congressman Hearn, and then Mr. Holland, the chief of staff for Senator Inhofe, is going to be running probably with an Inhofe endorsement. And who knows what Gittner Drummond's going to do at this. Boy, there are a lot of dominoes that are going to fall as a result of what we're seeing with Senator Inhofe resigning.
And we're going to tell you there's more than dominoes just in the Senate race. We're going to come in our next question. But your thoughts about the mountain moving to retirement?
Well, it's a huge announcement, and part of his calculation has to do with his family's health and wanting to spend more time with his wife. Look, as a Democrat on this show, I can tell you I have not always agreed with Senator Inhofe. I have not always agreed with the tactics that he uses. But one thing that I can say about Senator Inhofe, longest serving U.S. Senator in Oklahoma history, is that he has brought back a lot of opportunity, a lot of jobs to the state of Oklahoma. He has been a rock up in Washington, D.C. for the state of Oklahoma. And even though I haven't agreed with his tactics always, I have to say that in the long haul, he has done a very good job in his career for the state of Oklahoma and his people.
Yeah, like Governor Knight, he's like Forrest Gump, right? He's been there when things happened over the years. All right, let's talk about the dominoes that could fall, not only for United States Senate, but there could be a couple of congressional seats open up. There could be a lot of people in Oklahoma politics moving to different places.
Absolutely. I mean, for anyone that likes politics, this is amazing. We're going to get to see all of this play out in front of us. I think you have to look on the Democratic side for persons like Kendra Horn, former Congresswoman Kendra Horn, to jump into this race. I don't think you can count out people like Dan Boren or even former Governor Brad Henry. I mean, obviously, those are big names in Democratic politics. I agree with my colleague that I think you'll see T.W. Shannon, perhaps Congressman Hearn, jump into this race. You might even see our Lieutenant Governor Matt Pinnell jump into this race. There's going to be a lot of good options. When Coburn resigned years ago, I think it turned over as many as 40 different seats in the state of Oklahoma. This is going to rock politics in the state of Oklahoma.
It certainly is. We can see state offices open up, congressional offices open up. What do you think?
Well, I do agree. It's absolutely going to rock politics. Where I disagree a little bit is with my Democrat colleague. I often did agree with Senator Inhofe, and he's done a great job. But when you look at his longevity in the United States Senate, longest-serving senator in state history, Senator Lankford, I don't think is going anywhere anytime soon. This may be the last shot for a while to have an open U.S. Senate seat. So I talked about some of the names that you see, absolutely Matt Pinnell, but some of these names that you talk about will open up a different seat that will be coming up. And then let's not pretend like it's only a bunch of politicians that are going to be jumping in. This is opening up new seats for just the average everyday citizen. I don't think you'll see our governor go anywhere. I think he's, going to coast to a re-elect. But I think it's going to get really interesting in Oklahoma politics.
Remember what Bob Dylan said, the times, they still are a-changing. Thanks for joining us this morning. See this again at news9.com/yourvotecounts. Follow me on Twitter @MitchellTalks.